So you go through this breakup, and then what were you thinking the first time that you were going to post that first piece of content? Because I remember when I went through my breakup, I was like, I want to post some stuff to see if people will relate, but I'm like, I can't do that because I don't want to overstep boundaries that I had with that person at the time. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you're doing the wrong thing. I'm just curious, like, were you nervous or were you just like, ah, what am I like? What was going through your head?
Um, I was leaving for one of my classes. I just thought my friends would see it. He follows my TikTok and we've talked about it, and I'm respectful towards him. Like, no one has his information or anything. So I wasn't too nervous. I didn't think the whole world would jump onto a girl crying in her car. Um I didn't mean for like any of that to happen. I just wanted my friends to know that I was fine. And
Mm.
I left for class and came back and had 14,000 views.
So then you were like, wait, so like, what were those comments like? Were people just like, oh, this is relatable? Or like, were they encourage? Like, what was that like that gave you the perspective to be like, I need to keep doing this?
I started getting comments being like, I'm going through this right now. I just got broken up with 2 hours ago. I'm on actually day 6 and it's really, really hard. And I started getting private messages because I linked all my socials, and
Mm.
I started getting ones that were like, I just got broken up with. I was contemplating suicide. I saw your video and knew it was okay to feel not okay. And so at that point, I realized, this is no longer just my breakup story. This is how to get over a breakup reality edition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That like trying to being as vulnerable as you can without while still having your own type of like private feelings and emotions about it, right?
Yeah, definitely there's a lot that's not shown, but at the same time too, it's also the truth. It's interesting.
So like, how do you choose which content to throw out there? Not even content. Like, how do you know which moments? And they're probably different all the time right now because it's like, when did you guys break up?
We are on day 8
Oh
today.
goodness. Okay. So, and this is probably like man, this is the beginning of the roller coaster, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just um.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So, like, do you just randomly like this? I don't feel great right now. Like, maybe people will relate to this. I'm going to throw it out there. Or how do you pick when to?
Um, it depends on the day. For the most part, I pick the emotion that's fronting the most for the day. So like most of mine, you'll see it's me being really frustrated or me doing the hardest task possible, like packing up his stuff, which everyone does, but showing that it was fucking hard. Um, like that. But I would say like day 7, which is a turning point for a lot of people that started following me, is I
Yeah.
started out really happy. And not even 2 hours later was I bawling my eyes out once again on TikTok. But I just know that I want to post something a day and I just choose when it feels right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's my roommates out of the house. I can speak freely, or this is a good moment where I feel like everyone knows what this feels like, but here's how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what the thing is too is like everybody knows what it feels like, but I think when people go through it once or twice, or if even if they go through it once, but they're so far removed from it, because once you get out of that stage, you're like, man, that's crazy that I felt that way, and you almost don't even. You're like, man, was that even me? Um, it's good for people to see it because like there's a lot of times where like people will negate the feelings of other people and be like, oh, they're gonna get over it. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but the way that they're feeling in the moment is still very, very real. So that's why I was like, man, that's such a good idea to do it because people like it's almost like you are sacrificing your security and your privacy for the sake of other people like feeling better, which is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely in the beginning it was, well, and I stay true to it. This will be honestly down to the last second my story and my true emotions, but I also have to like recognize that there are 6 people every day that come back and say here's my today. They do it every day.
That's awesome.
And I have to realize that although this is going to be my story and it's going to play out how it's going to play out, that there are people watching.
True. So like I don't want to give any advice during this, like just because like I hate that. It's like you just got to experience it. And I hate when other people try to give advice like during I mean, unless you ask, but like there's one thing though that I will say, and you don't got to do it because everyone goes through breakups differently. And I'm gonna shut up after this and we're just gonna talk about other stuff. But like, so you packed up all this stuff already, right? Was it because when you were looking at it and seeing it, it was just part of like hurting and you're like, I don't want to see any of this right now?
Yeah, I wanted it out. We lived together.
Okay.
So
So
I
it's
wanted it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would say is this: you don't have to do it, but just like suggestion, it'll help. It's weird how much it helps later on. It's going to hurt either way. I would leave some of his stuff out so you could see it constantly, and then don't put it away or take it down until you are completely past it. And then even then wait a little bit. The reason I'm saying that is because you are choosing to not let part of this defeat you. So do everything else you need to do. It's gonna suck. Like I had a picture up for like months and months and months, and everyone on my YouTube would be like, "What's that picture? What's that picture?" And I didn't want to tell anybody. It's like, "Oh, this is a picture that my ex-girlfriend drew me for like I don't know, like a Valentine's Day one year." And I left it up not because I needed to see it, but because I was like, I'm not taking this down until like I really don't care. Like I'm not going to take it down out of something defeating me. So something random. You don't got to do it, but
Funny. I'm
two
doing the
cents.
same thing.
Dude, yeah.
I have a picture in a drawer that I open every day.
Yeah.
So it's still like not present, but I go into that drawer
Oh
every
yeah.
day.
So you're doing the same thing. That's dope. Okay. So you already it's already a good idea. Perfect. Okay. So what, if you don't mind? Okay, and if there's anything that you don't want to talk about, like seriously, like feel free at any point to be like, hey, I'm not going to answer that, and I won't take it personal. Nobody's going to care. Like, it's just
Perfect.
all right. So like literally anything, okay?
Sweet.
Because you being on here is already like pretty much like a big deal enough, especially during something so fresh.
Yeah.
So what did you guys break up over? And I know that it's probably much more complicated, so much more complicated. If you don't want to talk about that, we really don't have to, believe me, because I don't
No, it's
like. Yeah,
fine. Um, you know, like all good relationships, we were fighting.
yeah, of course,
you know,
of
we were
course.
fighting and it was over little things and
Yeah,
we had really good communication, but it was getting to a point where we would communicate but the actions never followed.
mm,
But I never really thought that it was not doable.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that we could fight and eventually we would find something that stuck for us.
Mm,
But, he didn't really give me a reason other than he said he wanted space.
mm,
Um, I asked why several times, and as most people know, I've been in contact with him and he still doesn't have a reason. Other than he said he wanted space. I know there's like several things going on in his life, but I didn't think that I was like the straw to break the camel's back. But, in the end, I think it was control. I think is when your life is out of control and you find that one thing you can control, you're going to manipulate it to make sure that you have some sort of power. And that just ended up, in my mind, being our relationship.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, but it was moving fast too, right? You had mentioned it was like you
Yeah.
guys were serious, not fast. You guys were serious, is what I should say. Like, you guys got serious.
Yeah. We were serious. And I think it was a good pace for us in the beginning, but then, reality sets in. But I didn't ever think that it was like not right. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%, 100%. Because it's like if you're in a position with somebody you care about them, there's just the perspective of like I'm willing to put in the effort for this person because that's a big piece of evidence for like love, pretty much, right? Or I would assume.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sorry. This is just so interesting to me because like it's like I don't feel this way anymore. But like the fact that you're going through it, I'm like, man, like this is so wild because I feel like I'm like not looking in the mirror, figuratively, but just like kind of a little bit. So like, wait, how old are you? How old were you guys, or are you guys?
I'm 20 and he's 22.
Okay, okay, it's pretty young.
Yeah.
So like, when you say serious, for you guys like possibly get married? You guys obviously talked about marriage, right?
Yeah, yeah, we were really considering it. He's graduating and I'm graduating in the next year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was definitely I was definitely looking for a settle down kind of relationship, and so was he. So it wasn't that like anything out of the blue or
Yeah, of course not.
different for us, but yeah, we were just at that point. You know,
Yeah,
you get to
yeah,
that point in college where you're like, I'm done.
yeah. Do you have the like if he came to you today, like would you get back with him, or are you full blown like, no, I'm committed to this year thing?
Oh
It's
gosh.
hard. I know. Yeah, it's
You know, I
and if you
had
don't
this
want to answer that, you don't have
conversation.
to. You
No,
don't
it's
have to.
okay. I had this conversation with my mom last night, and I said to her, if he did come back, he can come back, but he has to show me. I'm like, I'm pretty hurt that someone could leave with no reasoning,
Yeah, yeah,
especially with something that serious.
yeah, yeah,
But if he came back, he would really have to show me in order for me to be like, yeah, we're completely back together.
yeah, yeah.
Like it would literally be like dating a stranger again in my mind.
Mhm.
Which means my series would keep happening until it didn't. Um, but if he doesn't come back, I am so committed to this. I keep telling people, I'm like, I told my mom, that's the biggest commitment you can make.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
And like, so like, but like right now, like, do you not want to be with him? I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, you wish everything would be perfect and this wouldn't have happened and it just would have kept going, right? Like, I feel like that's
Yeah.
obvious.
Like, do I want him back? I want the not confused him back. I want the
Yeah.
one that was so driven and like knew what was going on. I don't if he came back and was like, I'm still confused, I'm gone. Sorry. Not sorry actually, but like I'm just gone. I want a clear, like, you're a great person. Let's like follow through on this.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
and like today is more of a day where I'm like angry and I'm like, of course I don't want you here. But probably in 2 days I'll be like in my bed sad again, being like, oh, I wish.
What are those? What are like the first? What's the first week of it like for a girl? I mean, obviously not to categorize everyone in the same group, but like, what is that like? Because for dudes, it's like when you're really like upset, there is no I'm sad and then I'm mad and then I'm just good and then it's very much like it sucks and it stays pretty low. Like you don't really get a whole lot of angry later on, but not the
Yeah.
first 7 days.
Um, my first 7 days, the first 2 days, I was in like denial. I was like, there's no way. There's no way, because he was still messaging me like nothing had happened. Our breakup was actually just weird, and it was like a normal day. The day after we broke up, like same contact and everything, but it was like just difficult. And I don't know, it's been up and down because it's funny, our friends are finding out at different rates. So some days, like, my girlfriends all know because I told them, and they're like, let's go out. Let's like go out, meaning like, let's go eat. Let's have a movie night. And like, those are the days where I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. This is fine. And then it's like those days that are, you get that like really weird text from someone in your past, and they're like, I see you're single. Like, no, no, I don't want that. And those are the days that I'm upset. It's when the people that were not even around for the good part of it
Yeah.
show up for the worst part of it.
Do you feel like you got to deal with that even already? Like, because I can only assume that girls like have to go through that, and there is no cushion period. Like dudes will just jump on contacting people quick, and like you don't have to like. So, do you feel like you guys are in that stage where it's like you would feel guilty if like one of you hung out with somebody else, even if it was like innocent?
I know that he doesn't feel guilty about it because he's been doing it and is very
Okay.
open about telling me. I feel really guilty about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're also at different points. He's the one that broke up with me, and I was the one that was
True.
blindsided. Um, like, I would feel really, really bad about it, but that's also just me.
Do you think you feel bad because like in case you guys like get back together, you don't want to like, or is it just because you feel like it's just still new and you're like, well, I'm not even thinking of that?
You know, I think part of it is like he's very indecisive, and like that little sliver of you is like, I want to stay open for
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
moment. But the other part of me is like, I'm just freaking annoyed. I'm just annoyed with everyone that's like, hey, let's go on a date. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And especially, it's funny, the people that see my TikToks and know I'm on a 365-day journey, and they're like, hey, are you single? And I'm like, yeah, that's like the whole premise of my platform, actually. And then they're like, oh, great. Can I take you on a date? Like, I can treat you perfectly. And it's like, I sometimes have to be like, can you go watch like my video of day 3
It's
and recognize that I'm being single for a year?
it's just like
I
the
know
funniest
it's
thing to like that you you have like a TikTok that's straight called 365 days single, and like it's very obvious like if you follow the content that it says like day 4, day 7, and dudes are straight like DMing you like, hey, let's hang out, blah blah blah. Like it's
yeah,
just the
or people
story of
like,
dudes on the internet.
yeah, or the people that are like, I can make that number go down, and it's like, I didn't ask you to. Not once, actually.
Have you got any good DMs? Like anything that's like actually funny where you're like, okay, that was kind of good, even though I'm still not gonna hang out with this person.
Yeah.
Like really, one of my friends, she was on here, and I remember I asked her, I'm like, how many DMs do you get a day? And then she was like, I don't know, like she said like 10, but she had like requests and stuff like that too, right? And then she ended up playing like the voice message of like one of her like DMs, and it was like the greatest thing I've ever heard. It was obviously like a joke that he was sending to be funny, but I was like, oh, that was great. Anything that you don't have to. It's not like something we do that I do on episodes. But if you have any funny ones that you're like, yeah, this is too good, definitely the stage is open to read them, but you don't have to.
As I'm getting ones right now. We can open and see. I've had people, my favorite, this is my favorite one, and actually, I'll just say this one. This one was my favorite. This happened yesterday, and a guy adds me on my Instagram off of my TikTok, and he said, hey, I added you from TikTok. And like in my mind, I'm like, yes, everyone is. If I don't know your name, that is how you're getting my information. And he goes, yeah, so this is going to be really weird. And I was like, oh God, you know how there's like messages that pique your interest? This one, the minute he said that, I was like, oh gosh. I was like, don't be like a dick pic, don't be like something weird. And he goes, how old are you? And it's it's out there in several videos actually that I'm 20. And I said, I'm 20. How old are you? Because I'm not trying to catch a case off of this conversation. And he goes, oh my God, that's great. And I was like, why? And he goes, my brother is 20 and he really deserves a great girl. And he sends me his Instagram picture and his Snapchat and says, will you please message my brother? I just want to see him happy. And I messaged the guy and I said, hey, your brother really is a great wingman. Um, I just wanted to say hi and let you know that this happened. He goes, You gotta be freaking kidding me. I've seen you on my For You page, but I didn't think it was my brother that would get me there.
Did you follow him?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. This guy came through.
I was
This
like,
guy came
wow.
through.
He
What
went
a
through all
beast.
this trouble. Like he even followed up. He was like, "Have you heard anything?" I'm like, "Yes."
Dude, that guy's got a business right there. That
Oh,
dude could be the fill-in brother for everybody now. He's got the blueprint down.
he just and like even the guy asked, he's like, "Why did you do this?" I'm like, "Your brother really piqued my interest. He just really came out of left field."
That dude owes his brother just to get a response. Not like you're gonna date that dude, right? But just to get a response.
Right. And just it was just really funny. And I was like, I've never been set up before, but this is going down in the history books for me.
How did you meet your ex?
We went to school, well, back up. We met when I was dating my previous ex. We
Oh
had class
no.
together and
Just kidding.
I friend zoned him. I was like, yeah, my boyfriend's great, you know, all the things you do to just suddenly be like, please don't ask.
Hmm.
And but then one day I realized I had went to a high school in his conference and that I had been actually growing up with this kid since middle school. And later, when we broke up, at the beginning of quarantine, actually, which is something else, he messaged me, and because we had been helping each other out with like homework and stuff, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm really bored. Do you want to go hiking?" And I said yes. So it was because of school.
And then okay, well, obviously you friend zoned him because you had a boyfriend at the time. But like, if you had friend zoned him in the first place, was it only because you were in a relationship, or you just when you're in a relationship, you don't look at other people, so like that's what it was?
Whoever tells you that you don't look at other people in a
Yeah,
relationship
they
are
lie.
lying to
They
you.
lie. Yeah, you
You're
just
like,
don't act on it because you're a good person.
right, exactly. And it's natural. And you know, it's funny. Statistics say that if you look at other people, your relationship is actually better. Um, however that works. But he was attractive. He was really nice. Like there was nothing wrong. I just was like, I'm in a very committed relationship. We were at like a year, so I was uh,
Yeah, if you're not gonna. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like you're a great person.
It's so funny how stuff works like that. Wait, was he like friends with your ex, or you guys just because you went to school together?
Just because we went to school together. I honestly, did he ever meet my ex? I don't think so. Probably not.
Probably
So
not.
no.
It's always interesting how stuff like that works. Connected, this and that. Because like everybody's different. There's some people you meet that they're like they've dated around basically only in their town, and then there's other people that are like, no, I've dated people from here and there and here, and it's like there's never really in between. It's never
Yeah,
people that just kind of like you know. So I was curious about that because people, it's like they're just random with it, but that's
yeah.
not that random, I guess.
It was just a coincidence, you know?
What this is like these are the random questions that are kind of like I guess not universal to these podcasts, but they come up, right? So, what advice do you think you could give to dudes diving into DMs after you've obviously been getting them from TikTok?
Oh my gosh.
I know it's
Um,
because it's like such a weird thing to do anyway.
you know, the ones that I respond to everyone. It's a
Do
problem.
you got to stop doing that because
I know.
that's gonna get out of hand way too much.
um, but you know, the ones that really are stand out to me that are like my best ones that I get are always like, "Hey, um, especially guys. I have a lot of guys that will message me and tell me their story of their breakup and be like, "This is what I did to get through it." And I'll always say like, "Thank you. That was great advice," because it always is great advice. And then all they say back is, "You're welcome." That's it. They never hit on me, which is great because it's not what I want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're always really nice and they say like your series is really helping me through it, or I wish I would have done this as well because I wish I could have seen myself on day one in the final day.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, those are always my favorite, or the ones that ask just random questions. They're like, "Hey, I saw." My favorite actually is I had to make a TikTok about my fish because thousands of people asked to see my fish. And so people will message me and be like, "What kind of fish do you have? What's his name? Like, how do you take care of him?" Those are so funny to answer because it's nothing about why people know me
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah. It's just some random thing floating around in the background.
Pretty much, my
So
friend says I have a cult following for 365, and I have a cult following for my fish.
what kind of fish is it?
I have a beta, a male beta.
What color is it?
Blue and green. I got a
Oh,
mix.
okay. Okay, nice, nice, nice. Betas are
Yeah.
like indestructible. I had a beta when I was like 10 that lived for like 5 years.
Yes, we're on year 5.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are beasts. They say they're only gonna live like a couple years max, but it's like no, those things will go forever.
We really thought he was sick, like about to like bite the bullet, and my my roommate one day was like, "We can't let him go," and so we have been medicating, and he just like won't give up. We're like, my roommate calls him Jerry. His name's Gerald, but she was like, "Jerry, it's okay to let go." And then the next day, he was like swimming around like it was nothing. We were like, "You're plain dead. Who taught you? It wasn't
That's
me."
that's so crazy. 5 years, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel like? So, are you taking this every single day, day by day? Like, is the content helping you take it this all day by day, or do you think about like, what is this going to be like in 2 or 3 months, or are we going to be back together in like 6 months, or like, what is it just vary?
No, it's day by day. I've been in and out of therapy, and that was like the one thing I struggled with, and they always say journaling. Another possibility now that I found out is videos. Just make
Such a good idea.
videos. Like we used to do second a day videos. If you remember that from YouTube, the second a day compiled into a year.
Yeah,
This is just, like 30 seconds to a minute compiled into a year.
exactly.
But it helps me because, I'm an English major. I write all the time. This is a better way for me to like freely think
Yeah,
by speaking than writing.
it's so like, what do you think? Let's just say if you had to guesstimate or make like some prediction, let's just say you go the full three, because I hope you go the full 365. Like seriously, like I really hope you do. Not even just for the sake of obviously so that you feel better, because you should do that for yourself obviously, but there are some like byproducts that are definitely very positive because the content is great. Like it's amazing. So if you had to like guess, what do you think would happen at the end of the year? How do you think you would feel at the end of this 365? And then also, when do you think that you're going to be like yourself again?
Oh, um, that's funny. When I think about a year out, I have goals now. I have goals with this content. One
Yeah.
is creating safe spaces
Mm,
because, we're in an age where crying, showing emotion, um, talking about difficult subjects in a candid way is not okay. And I I can't get with that at all. I want people to know that it's fine and it's okay to seek help in your own way. So that's like a goal now. But at the end of it, I want to figure out like, let's say I get in another relationship and it ends, how will I know how to help myself cope? Like, what makes me strong beyond belief that if it happens again, like I could dig it out in a second? This time's going to be a learning process. The next time is going to be second nature. Um,
as far as
and I
like
think
knowing
about
the
that.
steps to go to, or as far as
Yeah,
like, okay, yeah,
yeah, and just knowing like grief isn't the same for everyone. Like if I compared myself to my ex who's going through it right now too, our stages are not the same. But you as a person most likely are going to grieve the same way each time.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
knowing what that period looks like so that I'm not like taking steps back when I should really be taking steps forward. And so I'll know the next time around, okay, around this time I was feeling this way. Here's how to push it.
You know what's scary is that like this might not even be the last time you feel this way like about somebody, which is
I know.
terrifying, right? I don't mean that to sound morbid. I really don't, I promise. But in some ways you could take it as a positive too, because you're like, man, I feel this so strongly about this right now. But it's kind of crazy to think that like you could feel so strongly about someone else in the future that yeah, you could go through this again. But it's kind of comforting knowing that you could also get over it as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super weird to
Cool.
think about. Super weird.
Yeah. Breakups in general are weird. So
But they're not all hard though. You
no.
know what I mean? They're definitely not all hard. Do you feel like when do you feel like you're gonna feel like do you ever like think about that? Like when am I gonna feel like myself again? Like when am I gonna feel like not like this balloon that can pop at any time?
You know, I've been reading people's comments and they're like, I'm 7 years in and I still have rough days.
Dude, right? I've seen that. That's
And I'm like, you know what? That's probably true. I think maybe around like 130, I'll start really fronting like me, not so much like broken up me, his old girlfriend me, like it'll just be Morgan. But I don't know. I think if people are going to make this big of an impact on your life, it's going to keep coming up and
of
it's
course.
okay. It's fine. If I'm still crying about it 4 years from now, they made a difference, right?
It's a weird dichotomy of like there's you that is getting over it and having to address it because you are making content about it every day, right? But also at the same time, there's also the relation to other people that are going through the same thing and like whether to what extent it helps, I have no idea. But it has to at some point, right?
Right.
So it's weird. It's like you have like a balancing act where like I could see how that could help, but I could also see how it probably doesn't help. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. It's am I helping it's weird because it's like am I helping myself
Mm,
or am I helping other people? But I know I'm helping myself because I'm processing. It's the aftermath of, hey, I'm going through this too. That I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm helping people. That's right. Like when I'm posting right away, it's for me. It's not for anyone else. And then it's the 5 hours later where I'm like, oh man, I'm getting messages being like, I'm 3 months in and I was having a really rough night. And then I watched your videos and I was like, someone else is having a rough night.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
oh man.
So do you guys still talk? I mean, not every day or maybe every day, I have no idea, but like are you guys talking hit or miss here and there?
I'm so annoyed with it. We talk every day and I don't
Oh
get
God.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't get it because there have been several times where he asked for space
Mm,
and I'm a type A person. When you
yeah,
said
yeah.
boundaries, boundaries are boundaries.
Mm,
And he said, I want space. And I said, a few times I've said, I can't talk to you. You said to give you space. And he said, well, I don't want space right now. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? And even today, like, he didn't text me, but he Snapchatted me. And I said, you don't have to keep the streak. You don't. And he said, well, I'm not. What
what
is
is
that doing for you?
what does your mom say to do? Just
Well,
ignore him?
she's like, you still have his stuff, don't you? I'm like, yeah, and I just want to give it back so I can just be done because like will I block him? No. He was
Yeah.
my best friend. I like there's it's funny, even when my videos took off, I texted him and I said, I know you're seeing these. Is everything okay? I told him when there were a few big school moments that he missed that I told him, I know you've been hearing about these for months. I just wanted to let you know. So like we won't completely close off each other. I'd never believe in that
Of
actually.
course.
Still am in contact with most of my exes, which I know is not everyone's reality. But you know, it will eventually have to stop because I'm pissed off. I'm like, just choose. I've
Yeah.
chosen. Your turn. So my mom just says like give him his stuff back and be done and I'm like I'm trying every day actually I'm trying.
Do you feel like at some point he's gonna come back and be like, "Hey, I want to get back with you"?
Next Tuesday actually.
Oh
That was my prediction. Someone asked me today, they're like, is he going to come back? And I was like, I really think like next Tuesday.
oh, that was great.
Yeah,
I love how I love how I asked that. I thought you were just gonna be like, "Yeah, at some point, I think," but you're like recording like, "Nah, next Tuesday."
no, like literally next Tuesday. Because we talked
Ugh.
and we were supposed to meet tomorrow and it's not happening. So a little sneak peek of that content. My get ready with me that I was going to do because I wanted to show people what it looks like to get ready to meet with your ex.
Great. Oh, great. Oh my God, that's such a good
You know,
idea.
crying in the bathroom, all of
Seriously,
it.
that is such a good idea.
Because that was my only planned content. I wanted to give people like legitimately some kind of hope for that because I knew it'd be my toughest day, and it's thrown out the window. So, but he said I called him and we FaceTimed for an hour, and I just said, "You need to tell me what you're thinking
Mm.
because I'm in the dark. I'm creating this content, and people are pissed at you. Um, I really want to know." And he said, "Well, I can get back to you on Monday, like a business transaction." And I was like, I hung up on him. I was so pissed. I was like, you said Friday, but then now you're saying Monday. So I have a feeling that on Tuesday, like he'll crack and just be like, here's what I'm thinking.
At which
Uh,
point, what do you think what do you think, what do you think you should do, and what do you think you're going to do?
oh gosh, what I should do. It was a perfect world and I had no emotions whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, I'd ignore it. It's a breakup. If we were all good about breakups, we would move on.
Oh, of course,
You know?
of course.
But unfortunately, I will be talking to him for 4 hours, probably arguing back and forth about how stupid it is. Because, you know, our conversation was, why'd you break up with me? I don't know. Well, what's reasons to not be with me? And then he sat there for 15 minutes silent. And I said, great, okay. What are reasons to like be with me? Like I went through all this stuff and every time he sat there silent for 15 minutes looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, this is stupid. This is so dumb. Like that was like the breaking point for me to go home and talk to my mom and just be like, this guy's out of his mind. Cause I was like, I know myself. I know I'm a great girlfriend when I really genuinely care about you. And I really genuinely cared about him. And it's funny because my best self wasn't good enough for him. And it's because he wasn't his best self. So I was like, throw in the towel, but we'll probably argue for 4 freaking hours because he's so indecisive. And then I'll get like the answer in the last 2 seconds before the phone call hangs up.
It's usually how it goes. It's usually how it goes.
Pretty much.
Do you feel like do you feel like conflicted a little bit too? Because obviously, like, as the content grows, it sounds dumb to say the internet's serious, but to some extent, like especially when you're like engaging with people constantly and they're being vulnerable with you back, you're not committing to them because you should never let the internet dictate what you do in your life, right? But
Right.
but it has to be a factor in like your decision making, right?
A little bit. Like, part of me, so there was a video
A
where
little bit
I,
right now, but if you were to get like jump up to like 100K overnight, like followers just like boom like that, you'd be like,
oh my
oh,
god,
what do I do? You know?
I will be going home. That's the first step. If like literally today I hit 10K and I thought maybe I should just go home.
What did you have before that? What did you have before that?
I started with 300 followers.
So you've gained 10,000 people in a week.
Yes.
When did what day did it really take off? Day one, day two?
Um, day day 2 is when people started seeing the day 1 video, and
Ah,
that's
okay.
when I jumped from 300 to 5,000. By my day, like, 6, I had 7, and then today with day 8, I had 10. We
That's
looked we looked at statistics, that's like a 200% increase.
that is insane. No, it's oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. God. So this is like, man, it's so weird to think about this because, like, obviously, like I said before, the internet's not going to dictate your decisions in life, but it is a variable. It does have some impact, slightly. You know what I mean? But it's weird to think that the algorithm of TikTok is so sophisticated and it will keep feeding you people because it knows people need to see it or want to see it. So it's like
Right.
I'm just thinking like, man, you could be at 20K. Not that the followers they don't matter, but I just mean like you could double this again in like a week or
Yeah.
maybe even less, honestly, like maybe even less if you're going by like the math in my head, probably less.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Is that
And
going to be a factor though? That's what I mean. Like that's what I'm trying to get at. Is like that going to be a factor? Do you feel like more serious it gets, the more of a factor it's going to play in your decision making if that opportunity presents itself, where you're
no.
like, do we get back together or not?
No, because at 10K now, I'm still operating like I'm at 300.
Mm,
Like, I have people that Snapchat me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you responded." And I literally have said, "Why wouldn't I? I'm just a person."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they're like, "No, you're famous." And I'm like, "No, I'm not."
yeah,
Um, because in my mind, it's still just me and my phone in an apartment in the middle of nowhere Midwest.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So sure, like, I had a really tough day of people just being like, leave them
Mm,
when I was really vulnerable about not wanting to.
yeah.
And I had to make content that said, I love your support, but at the end of the day, it's my decision and I'm going to choose either way.
Isn't that so frustrating? Like so much easier said than done.
Yeah,
Like they're like pretty much whether it's leave them or don't get back. It's like it's pretty much they were just saying ignore them. And it's like it's so much easier said than it's like it's not like that in the moment. You
it's
know?
not black and white. Life is never black and white. There's
I
gray
know.
spots, and I'm sitting in one of the biggest gray spots you ever are in, you know?
I think you're gonna be at like 100K followers by like the end of November. Like
Uh,
honestly, like if you
you
if
better message me.
no, I would like I honestly I really do like the way that the algorithm works. Like, because I do this for work, like with companies and whatnot. I'm like an internet person, whatever, consultant, and geeky business stuff. But like, I really genuinely feel like if that's what you grew in a week, and if you keep posting content every day, I'm like, God, like you're gonna be at 100K so quick. Where the internet don't matter, like your followers they don't matter, but it is kind of crazy because that's why
It's
that's
weird to think
yeah,
about.
yeah, it's super weird to think about. Like, do you feel do you feel like the content is going to be like when you start feeling better about this? Let's say you have a good week period of time in like a month and you're still single. Do you feel like you're going to feel more obligated then to be like, oh, I still need to do this for people that are not feeling great, that are still going through it? Or are you like actually full on committed to it?
I'm so committed
I know,
because
because
I
when I saw
know.
your email, I'm not going to say what it is, but I was like, oh yeah, this is like it's for real.
Oh my gosh, my email is an even funnier story, but I'm so committed because you know I'm going to have probably 2 months that are going to be great, hands down amazing. Actually, it's going to be one of the months is going to be the month I turned 21. Just everyone knows it's going to be great. But I know I'll probably have 2 great months, and then it's going to be the Snapchat memories come back, and you're like, I'm back to square one. Like, I just know that you can have like these great big amounts of time where it's like you're amazing and you're yourself, And you know, it can be one stone that just tumbles the tower. And I think that like even if I'm happy and I'm myself, I'm going to keep creating because there's probably going to be that day. Like I am 100% certain there's going to be that day that 2 months later I'm going to get a text, because even with my last ex before this, where we dated a year, it was 4.
Everybody, really quick, sorry that there's this break right here. We're just gonna jump right back into it. Basically, what happened was my internet shut off, and I was just like, I hated my life for a second. Morgan is back, but there's new information. So this is day. What day was it when we were on here last time?
8.
Day 8. So it's day 10.
Correct.
All right, and what happened on day 9?
Oh, day 9. She had high hopes.
Wait, are you not single anymore?
No, I am still single.
Okay.
He canceled.
Oh,
That was actually the funniest part.
I didn't want to laugh.
Pissed. And the comments are like, "Are you freaking kidding?" No.
Do you laugh over that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all that you can do. Like, you can only laugh about it.
Well, it's even funnier. I keep getting like the comments that are like, "So what's his address? Just asking for a friend." And it's like, "Oh, thank you. It's fine. I'm handling it."
So what was the conversation like leading up to it? Did you feel like did you like get that vibe?
He didn't even tell me. On day 6. And that's why I was crying on day no 7, day 7. Oh, it's been a week.
Yeah.
We had our conversation on day 7. That's why I was crying. And he said, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I have corona. I'll let you know." Because we both have really bad allergies. So he was like, "It's either allergies or corona. I just can't tell."
Yeah.
The day of, I'm like, "He's not coming. He would have told me by now." I went the day not hearing from him, and then I got a message being like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I got super sick last night." I was like, "Okay." And in my head, I'm just like, "Can I just drop your stuff off, please? Can you just put mine like on the porch and we'll just do a swap?" But he doesn't want to. He was like, "No."
Do you feel like that pushed you, like, was that like a good thing for your morale? That like you obviously you wanted to see him, but the fact that he didn't show up, you're like a little bit less attached.
Oh, yeah, now I'm pissed. Before I was like kind of mad. Now I'm respectfully pissed. Like, I just let it go, dude. You broke up with me. I'm supposed to be the one that's like, "No, please take me back, blah, 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 blah." It just doesn't add up. I did the math. It does not add up.
What is what like are you mapping out like plans for yourself? Like, do you have like I don't know, like little landmark things that you're like, by this day I'm gonna do this, by this day I'm gonna do that? Do you do that or no?
Not thinking about it, I do know, though, I'm looking at a study abroad.
That's dope. Like, how far?
I want to go back to Germany. I already been there as a student. I want to go again.
Nice. So you're gonna go for like 6 months or 3 months or a year or something like that?
I think it's like around 4.5.
Dang, that means you guys will be like,
Yeah, well, I was like, he really didn't want me to go. I almost did it it would have been this semester.
yeah.
He was like, "Eh." I'm like, "I was kind of thinking about doing it for my senior year because it's my senior year of college." And he was like, "I don't really want you to go. Like, that's kind of far." No, I'm like, "Oh, I'm going.
Dang.
Bye."
Dang, he said don't go, and you were like, okay, and then It's not funny. None of this is funny, and I'm not laughing at you. I promise.
It's a little funny, not gonna lie.
Well, it's like just relationships are just they're like honestly they're just like messes. Like relationships at any age they are just like a mess. They're all a mess until you get to like the person you're gonna marry, and that's still a mess a little bit. You guys commit to each other, you know. So just hearing this, it's like I'm not laughing at you. I'm kind of like reminiscing and laughing with you, so to speak. I guess we'll say that.
Been in this situation, well, except everyone that comments on my first video. 25 years going strong, 21 years going strong. Point, but cool. But
Do you get
everyone relates.
like a lot of comments like that? People that are like, I feel so sorry for you, but me and my significant other have been going for 5 years or 4 years or something. Because I've seen a couple of those.
Yeah, like all the time. Or like there's a thread of guys that are like, I've been single 20 years, and then someone's like, actually I'm at 21, and then someone was like, I'm at 23, how can you beat that? And someone was like, I'm at 25, and then finally someone commented and was like, I don't want to beat any of you.
Dude, how do you think that counts though? Like full 20, like not to change the subject, but I'm like someone's like 25 years don't count. You haven't been single for 25. You've been single for like what, like 10? If you, or you know what I mean?
I've been single my entire life. Well, then you really don't understand what this series is about. This is not you dislike it, so the algorithm takes you out of it.
Copy the link, send it out somewhere.
Even people that leave comments, I get a lot of them like, don't cry, don't show your emotions. Like, people get through this all the time. What makes you special? And to a few of them, I said, like, but sometimes I just want to comment and be like, can you just let me know if you want me to block you or not?
Yeah.
So then you don't have to see it. Or, you know, I know how TikTok works. You can use your finger and just scroll. It's really easy, actually. It's a feature in the app.
It's so weird that people are like that, because like it's not like you're like going to the grocery store and like crying to like thousands of people. Like you're just and you're not even really on TikTok crying every day. Like you're not. Like you've had like you know what I mean? You're just being honest. But like also you can't go be honest on TikTok, but like people can post the most ridiculous stuff on there, you know?
I know, it's funny. You know, I just look at it, I go, oh, that's kind of okay, and then delete it. Because I realize I keep getting more messages now. We were talking about messages last time. I keep getting more messages of young kids being like, I'm going through this right now. Like people younger than me. I can't, and I always tell them, like, go read the comments. It's not just for me. It's for everyone going through this. And then I go through and I delete all the bad ones because I can't let people younger than me. I remember how like this had made me like really thick skinned, but when I was younger, I wasn't at all. I was really, really sensitive, and how bad that would have hurt for me to see that. Yeah, so I delete all of them. So like I'm the only one that ever really sees them, unless people are like watching my page. But you know, I'm like, oh, okay, you just don't like this. Delete. Bye. You know, it's just dumb.
No, I know what you're saying. It's so weird to think about that too, because I know that last time we talked about like, oh, this is gonna help like a lot of other people obviously seeing it, and it obviously is, but I forget about that like when you're younger, especially girls, like guys don't go through it too, but I think guys go through it differently. They're not as like they do hurt like if you go through a breakup when you're young, but not the same way girls do, it seems like. And like I can't even imagine that. Like if I had a daughter and she was like 13, 14, 12, and she had like one of her first like real that she thought boyfriends, and then they break up, she'd probably like devastated, you know what I mean? So like I can't even imagine that like I don't know. You're already hypersensitive at that age. But it's just so crazy. It's
just
crazy.
worth it to like put someone else through it, you know? I don't know, because it's true. Well, like I have a Snapchat just because of this now, and I have 100 people on Snapchat, and it's young kids being like, I'm really sad, I'm really torn up, but it's helping. And I'm like, oh man, you gotta be good. It's like the Disney stars, they're all like, once they leave Disney, they're like, I still gotta be good because all those 14-year-olds are still watching me. It's like that.
It is like man, it's weird to think about this because there's like layers of, I don't know, communication or layers of like information. So like it's like you talk to your mom a lot right now. But if you had like another, like, you don't have any siblings, do you?
I do, I have a brother.
Oh, okay. But if you had like an older sister who was like 10 years older than you might be able to get not better advice from her than your mom, but like more relevant advice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I've
Yeah.
noticed that like the older people are when they give you advice in any situation, it's true. And it's not like they're wrong, but it's very like, just jump these 5 stages that you're going to go through and get to hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a lot of I come home, I'm like, okay, what do you think? And then I go back and I have 5 friends. We're all like really close. I'm like, okay, my mom said this. What do we think about it? We like conference on it. I'm like, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Anyone input? Or like, and I had a best friend in high school. She was 3 years older, and I'll still talk to her about everything.
Yeah.
Well, we just go to mom first.
Obviously, yeah.
It's nice. You always talk over dinner, so that's always good. But then we always go back to like my girlfriends, and we're like, okay, how will we all handle this?
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're gonna like get to a point to where you're gonna have to start putting effort to be single, or you'd like in like 6 months, let's say, you're like halfway through this, and do you think that you're gonna be like, okay, oh, I met someone that's kind of cool. I met someone that's this, that, that. Do you think that you're gonna tell yourself, okay, I still need this time for myself. I still got to do this, even if someone's like cool. I'm not gonna like pursue anything serious with them at all.
You know, it's kind of sad. My girlfriend said I'm not allowed to meet anyone.
Yeah.
Rules. They're like, if you meet someone and you go on more than 2 dates, we're not letting you go on a third. And I was like, okay. This was before even the series. We had talked about this, I think 2 months before. Because, it was getting pretty serious and they were like, what if you break up? Because I have great friends and they think about all the possibilities. I was like, I don't know. They're like, you gotta be single. And I was like, I guess so. And they were like, I was like, maybe I should be single for a year. The original idea.
Yeah.
And, they said, we're going to hold you to it then. I was like, oh. They're like, yeah, I was like, I kind of want to go on dates though. I don't want to be like alone because
Yeah.
that's realistic. Because realistically, people always have the opportunity. It's just whether or not you take it or you feel inclined, whatever. And I said, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
I go on dates, and that's how we got like the first date. That's fine because it's always awkward.
Yeah.
Second date can be a deciding factor, so a third date would never happen.
No, it's good to do that. Well, I think I don't count. Yeah, you should go on dates because then like you kind of get in the perspective of knowing like the difference between, I don't know, feelings for people. You know, you go on dates. There's like, I know that I've gone on dates with girls like when I was like in my early 20s, and I was like, oh, like, do I have a crush on this girl? Like, what the heck? And then like we don't hang out again, and I don't even think about her or nothing like that. And I'm like, oh, you could feel this way about a lot of people. Like what I thought having feelings for somebody was not necessarily, I don't know, what I thought it was back in the day. If that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
you'll, I don't know, you'll meet a bunch of people where you're like, do I have a crush on this person? What's going on? And then you don't do anything about it. And you're like, nope, that's just a feeling you get about a lot of people. Okay. And you kind of like, I don't know, live in like a different type of reality.
Yeah, and it's helping now too because The only people that ask me are people off of TikTok that are several states away. Several. It's funny because, you know, every girl probably knows this, but you have people that when you're dating, there's people always like, I can do better. I'll take you out. It always happens. I don't enjoy it. It's really freaking annoying. But there's always someone in the background. I started the series and all of them went away. All of them were like, never mind.
Really?
Yeah, so no one from like my hometown, no one from school, like my college town, no one has been like, can I take you out? I saw that you're single now. Because even like my family and stuff saw it on like Facebook, and you know, my friends saw it on Instagram. No one knew about the TikTok until day 4. Really.
So
So
do you feel like it was just like they couldn't have you, so they wanted you type of thing, and then when it's possibly there, they just didn't want it?
yeah, no one near me wants it, so it's going to make this a lot easier. Because it's people that are like 5 states away. I'm getting like the coast.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like, I am actually in the Midwest. It's snowing currently if you do want to come.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Are girls like that too? Like, well, okay, so girls say that other girls are like that. Girls will say they only want dudes who are in relationships, and that's every girl that I've dated has been like, girls want dudes who are in relationships. That's why I don't trust girls. Guys are kind of like that, but not, guys are just like pretty much, I'm gonna say like 50-50, kind of just, they don't have good morals sometimes. But girls are different. There's like a game and like a system that I don't know, that only you guys understand.
Because I've never like, yeah, yes, it's normal to have like a crush on someone that's dating someone else, because like I think like, at least for me in my mind, I was like, oh, they're actually capable of being in a relationship.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like see
Oh,
it
that makes
play out. You're
sense. That's so
I
crazy
could
that
be
like,
like,
I mean, it's not crazy that you think that, but it's, I know that other girls think that too.
yeah. So like it's not necessarily like I only like people that are in relationships. It's like the same logic of like this kid and they're playing with the littlest kid and you're like, oh my gosh, they would be a great father someday because they can play with kids well, which is not a great indicator, just letting you know.
Oh,
But it's that like same logic, but it's not like, I don't know. I've never actively went after someone that was dating. It was always like months after because I'm like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Do you have friends
But
that have done it?
um,
Do you know girls that have done it?
I do know girls that have done it, but not my friend group. Because in
Oh,
my friend group, only 2 of us, no, now 3 of us have had boyfriends of the
mm,
5.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a good mix.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to pick your brain on that because I hear that sometimes. Well, I've heard that multiple times from like different girls. They're like, girls like, there are some girls that like dudes, or not that they don't consciously do it, but they're just like slowly gravitate and flirt towards dudes that have girlfriends. I've seen
Yeah,
it. I've
yeah.
seen it.
I think it's just that logic to like, you can do it.
Yeah, like, oh, like, yeah, like this one's locked down, but that's like evidence that he might be someone who's I don't know, fits criteria.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Girls are weird. Girls are
I
crazy.
don't, actually.
It is. It is. It is.
Fair. It's not fair to all the guys that probably are like the best guys, you know? My mom always said like go for the ones that don't take you, like aren't the most forward right away. They're the ones that like wait.
Yeah.
Those are the nice ones. No one ever pays attention to them. But
Yeah.
that was my
What does your mom say? Like, as far as like, if she has a like criteria list, does she give you advice on like, this is the type of guy you should go after? This, blah blah blah.
no. The only thing is I'm really good about bringing them home
Mhm.
after the 5th date.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or if you're very lucky during quarantine, you got to meet my parents on the 1st date. But you know, I'm pretty good about bringing them home because they're really, really close knit. And the only thing that we all look for is that they talk to my parents, that they don't just sit there.
Yeah.
And then it always irks me if they don't try and shake my parents' hands.
Yeah, that's weird. They
It
don't.
is weird. And like we're a hugging family, so like it's always when you leave and you're comfortable, we'll hug or like we'll handshake to say goodbye. Um, it's always that. But the only person I think that has criteria, but it's like funny criteria, is my grandmother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If I think something's really serious, I take them to see my grandmother
Yeah.
around the holidays, and we actually have them help her bake and see if they'll listen to her directions.
Oh, I see, I see, I
And if
see.
they listen to her directions and they like are nice to her, like the guys that have always like hugged her have been like better, more acquainted than the guys who haven't or talked to her, whatever. We always see if they can listen to her, and if they can, typically those relationships have been the one that last really, really long. So like my 4-year relationship, he knew my grandmother pretty well, but some of them like didn't listen really well. And then you know, later we found out like it was a short-term relationship. I don't know why she's like the factor that changes everything. Is not like an active change, but it's then like every time I take them to go see her, and however they interact with her later on, I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
That is a really good indicator, though. It's like a very good indicator because, like, however they're gonna treat your mom and your grandma, it's kind of almost how they treat their mom, and it's like a slight indication of how they'll treat you in the future.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, 100%. I always look at how guys treat their mothers, or if they like don't have a mom in the picture, their sisters, or like most guys I know have like a best girlfriend, how they treat them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
dude. Like, it's. So I didn't get that until I was like, man, probably like early to not early. You know that middle stage of 20s where you're not early 20s, but you're not mid 20s yet. You're like 23 to 25, 23,
Yeah.
24, 25. So I didn't get that until then, where I was like, oh, like you actually have to put in effort with the parents. Like I would meet parents and it's not even like I disliked them. It was just more like I was in like high school mode. I was just like, oh, I'm not dating them. Like whatever, you know? And then I was like, oh no, wait, when you get older and you date people, you're kind of dating their family to some extent too. A little bit. Like if you're gonna be around for a little while.
If you
Like say that again, say that again.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like you gotta get in good with the family. And you gotta know if they're like a close-knit family, you gotta work for it. Because I think about like when I'm married older, I want my parents to be the ones that babysit. I want to be here for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, like our really big holidays. We do it as an entire family,
Mhm.
not just my immediate family. I mean, like extended cousins and stuff.
Yeah.
And how if someone isn't accustomed or can get used to that it's not gonna work, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
that's
I would say people gotta start doing that in high school. Like start getting comfortable with parents in high school, because that's how I was. And it made things a lot easier in the long run. And then when you break up, the only thing you miss is their parents. No.
when I was in high school. I dated this girl for like 4 years and then we broke up. But it was like a crazy breakup, like when you're a kid or whatever. And then we weren't friends or didn't talk for like 8 years. But now she's like, we don't really talk when we're in relationships because that'd just be weird. But when we're not, we're like super good buddies, like legit, like only buddies. But she would tell me all
Yeah,
the time, she was like, the only thing I missed, I didn't even think about you. She was like, I just missed your parents. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah.
truth. I don't know. My old high school boyfriend, I still miss talking to his mom. Every time I was there, there was like a good 2 hours that we just sit in the kitchen and talk. And his dad was an amazing stay-at-home dad. They were like really, really fortunate to have
Yeah.
that happen. But his dad just made some great meals from scratch, and I missed it a lot. Like every meal was home cooked, and it was just like, oh yeah. Like especially in college, I'm like, wow, I really want that right now.
Yeah. That's sick. I would never want to be a stay-at-home dad, but like if you are and you can cook and you do all this stuff, you're a savage. Like,
It was awesome. He was like really great. And then even like he it's interesting because he was a stay-at-home dad. He showed up the most. They were a family of 3 boys. He showed up and a girl. I forgot about Ella, but she was really, really little. But with the 3 boys, he never missed any sports tournaments. He never missed, where a lot of people would say like my dad got to come to some things or didn't come at all. Like my papa didn't get to come to everything because I had my younger brother, but he was working a lot. My mom came to everything. It was cool to see their dad was at everything. Like they have such a good like male role model.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's like, man, that's a hard thing not to jump into it too, but like you almost gotta think of it like even if you aren't planning on having kids with somebody and you don't want to jump the gun early, do you catch yourself now that you're older thinking about like what kind of dad would this person be? What type of husband would this person be? Even with like you just like I mean like early. Not I'm not trying to like give your like thoughts away, but like to the next dude that you date. But I'm saying like within like a couple dates, a date or two or what?
Yeah, I do because I'm nearing the end of my first round of college. My second round will be anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So I'm like, well, in 2 to 5 years, when I graduate, I'll be 21. So in 2 to 5 years, I'll be anywhere from 23 to 26.
Mhm.
I wanted like most of my family started their families around 24, 25. So I'm like, well, what the hey, I gotta actually look at like those qualities. And I also like have goals set because I want to be a social worker. And a thing about social work is that you can easily foster, and that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah,
I knew families that fostered, and I love it. I love the concept of it, and I love being able to like have an open home, because basically that's like you everyone will know this. You have that one friend whose mom never cares about the friends that are in the house.
yeah,
You know, you're there all the time. Like we always have my brother's friends over, always, and they have toothbrushes in our bathroom, like everything. That's the same thing as fostering without it being through the government and some of the circumstances. But that feeling of like an open house, I've always had it.
yeah,
So I was like, oh man, I want to do it, but for real. And I have to think about, oh my gosh, I have to find someone that's like up to that, because that's been like a thought of mine since I left high school.
just want to
I was like,
foster kids one day.
yeah,
That's so
yeah,
crazy. Not that I don't mean fostering. I just mean like you sometimes you forget that like there are conversations that could potentially be tough once you actually get serious with somebody, right? You could like think about them before they even happen, but once it gets to that point, you're like, oh, these are real conversations. These are things you have to address, and they can't just be addressed with everybody because not everyone's cool with them.
yeah. Yeah. I've had some of those tough conversations because, like I said, I had a boyfriend of 4 years. And previous to this relationship, I had a boyfriend of a year, around a year and a half.
Yeah,
And, we had to have those tough conversations, especially we were long distance. So I had to say, like, you're graduating, we're looking at that next step. Like, where are we living? What do we want to do about it? Like, I literally had to think about, is my grad school going to be in an entirely different state?
yeah,
Like all of that, which was like that didn't happen. So thank God, because I had no clue. But I've had those tough conversations and they suck because you like have that one conversation where you differ and then you sit there and you're like, I didn't choose the right person. But you're like, I love this person, but I didn't choose the right person. What the frick do I do now? You know, it's not until you have those tough conversations that you'll actually know how you're feeling about someone.
What's dating culture like in the Midwest? Like, do people get married early? Are they just like,
It depends. We're like in a weird in between because not to stereotype Christians, but I'm Catholic, so like I get it. You have like that group of like
they get
really
married heck early?
that marry early and have kids early, which is I don't know, it's kind of normal to me now because like some of my friends got married at 18, 19, that whole deal, and it was fine, and they're doing great. Um, and like part of me wants to be that because I'm pretty religious, so I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other half is like people that get married a while after college. So like you're never quite sure. You always
What do you
like
mean,
ask
like a while after college? You mean like late 20s or like 25, 26?
late 20s.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like no
No in
in between
between.
anymore because like my cousins' generations who I was with last night, they're nearing their 30s now, and they were like in that middle. Like everyone was getting married between 23, 25, like in there, and I know no one that's doing that. No one. I've been invited to weddings, and they're all or there was
Yeah.
in between. I'm like, so I'm kind of in the in between. But it's like just dating culture is just weird here. Like I don't know about like well, I've been on in other states and stuff, but at least here you don't get hit on. People
Really?
don't really like come up to you and they're like, "Oh, you're really pretty." I've never had that happen. My friends have never had that happen. It's always like someone through a friend of a friend, or you get to know someone by like working the chain basically.
Yeah, that makes, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, like I've never had that happen until I went into other states. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't know how to feel now. But then you're like, well, and so it's weird because it's a weird dynamic because like no one wants to be like forward and be like, oh, I really like you actually. Like you like wait a while. Like I
Mhm.
remember it took my boyfriend of 4 years, it took us a year to actually like talk about it. Like we were graduating and because we met in middle school and we dated through all of high school. And in middle school, I was like, I kind of like this dude. My friends all knew for the entire year. And then the day that we graduated, I went up to him. I was like, I like you. And then I actually like you. And then left. And then he texted me when I got home and said, I like you too. But that's like that's Midwest dating, literally,
Yeah.
because I've had people from like my college classes where back when I was on Tinder, I would be on Tinder, see them from my classes, match with them because I'm like, oh, I just know you. And they were like, I liked you the entire semester.
Yeah.
Could you just tell me? That would have been helpful.
It's so crazy to hear about people from other states, specifically the Midwest or like southern states where stuff, you guys are like a little bit more mature in regards to like dating when you're, I would say young, but it's not young for you guys. Because in California, 20 to 25, everyone's like, why would you get married now? You're too young. Like nobody's getting married now. And then even at
Yeah.
the second half of your 20s, people are like, okay, maybe I'll settle down. And then by the time they're 30, dude, there's so many people that are like, I don't even think I'm ever gonna get married. Like I don't want to get married. And
Yeah. My
then
last boyfriend was from Washington, and that's what he said. He was like, I don't get what's because he had dated a girl from uh also from Wisconsin a few years before me, and he was like, I don't get what's with you guys. You guys want to get married. Like I wasn't even thinking about that until I was like 30. I was like, oh, okay.
it is kind of crazy. Well, it's like there's nothing wrong with it. There's probably something more wrong with like us on the West Coast. I don't mean me, but I just mean like Oh, there's probably stuff wrong with me, but I just mean the West Coast in general, the dating culture is just messed up. It's so weird. It's super, super odd. People will like if you were to go to like California, people would be like super fast moving and then everyone hits on everybody and everybody's dating like as far as like casually, like hanging out, meeting all kinds of people, networking constantly. But then nobody like it's like the whole state has like commitment issues or far majority of it. That's the best way to explain it.
California has commitment issues. They should put it on like a bumper sticker or something.
I'm gonna make shirts to say that actually, now that I thought of it. That's really what it is though.
Oh, that's so, I don't know. That's so funny. Like, a part of me wants to go down and be like, what is this like? You know?
Yeah.
But I know I'm scared because I have all the guys that are like, you know? But yeah, it's like a whole different culture. But when I got into college, we had casual dating for about a semester. And then people were like dating, and like there's been people that have been dating. They came into college dating from high school. That's really common here. High school sweethearts is very common, at least at my college. So like even when we were casually dating, there were like 7 dudes, you know? And it was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. Sounds good. And so like after that first semester, people are like, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go find a long-term commitment, basically. Like it's not everyone, but a good majority are like, I just want a long-term commitment. And you're like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
It seems pretty healthy. Actually, it's a pretty healthy perspective to have. There shouldn't be anything weird about it.
It's just like different. I don't know.
What what advice do you feel like you could like leave people off on, like as far as like breakups? So like obviously, because just so everyone knows too, like I want to be able to have you back on as a 3-month check-in and a 6-month check-in and not hopefully like that. Hopefully you're still single like that, so we could start keep documenting the process. But 3,
Make
6,
it
9, and 12,
interesting.
yeah. So like at this point right now, what would you give anybody advice as far as breakups? Like, and it could be anything. Go on with as much as you want.
All right. In the first 2 days, text them and annoy them because they won't talk to you then, and then you won't feel bad. I seriously, it sounds really dumb, but the worst part of it is like where I'm saying that now that we're still in contact.
Mm.
Like if there is any way that you can break contact, if it's not good for you to have contact, break it. If that means you text them and annoy them like crazy and that's how it happens, cool. If you need to block them, cool. Because remember, when you block someone, it's always reversible. It is always reversible. Except with numbers, you can still unblock them. Just remember what their number is. But even on Instagram, you can go to your blocked people and unblock them. There's like no shame in it if it's going to be healthy for you to just break it off. Advice to guys, because I hear this all the time because I have my ex's sweatshirt and people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're giving it back to him. I never get my stuff back. Guys, get a decoy sweatshirt. Go to Walmart, get the $10 sweatshirt, wear it a ton, tell her that it's your favorite one, and then she'll take it, and then you'll actually wear your favorite one. And then if she dips, you don't have to worry about it because it was a $10 sweatshirt.
It's a great idea. That is it's a good piece of advice.
He was like, actually, I give all girlfriends a decoy sweatshirt. I'm like, wow, you're smart. Good on you. But in the first week, in the first 30 days are like, if you talk to any self-help person, they say the first 30 days is how you build a habit. In that first 30 days, do everything possible to make yourself happy, to like distract yourself, because after 30 days, it's going to be just natural. You're going to be like, okay, so if that's like, I journal every day with my roommate. You know, we both are in our separate rooms journaling, but if you do it every day, after 30 days, it's going to be normal. For me, it's always like making sure I'm eating, like make sure you're up on like the stuff you need to do, because it's a distraction, but two, you're keeping yourself in check, you know. And if I'm being honest, don't go on the dating apps right away. One, it's freaking annoying. I don't get it at all why I've done it and I regretted it. I was like, why am I here? This sucks. I hate it here. It's like, wait a month. Go hang out with your friends. Go, like, even my favorites have been like, there's that one friend that you haven't seen in forever, and you're like, hey, I just got out of a relationship. Freaking sucks. I know, like, we haven't talked in a while. Rekindle some old friendships. Just replace them with something platonic, you know? Just do that. And, you know, I was talking to someone else the other day. He's in his 40s, and he said, you know, I was married, but I was in like a loveless relationship, and then I was single, and it sucks, and all I want is to be in a relationship. And I said, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to be single. I just really needed it. If it's going to make you feel better to be in a relationship, go be in a relationship. No one's going to tell you like, well, actually, everyone will tell you, go love yourself first. It's easier to love yourself first. That is not everyone's process.
Yeah.
Do you take my route? Maybe not to the extreme of like a year. Because I'm looking at a year realistically, and I'm like, oh, I really did myself one dirty. And then, but like, you can be by yourself for a while. Or if you want to get into a relationship, that's fine. Just don't think of people as rebounds. I don't believe in rebounds. If I'm dating you, I'm dating you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Period. It's not to get over someone else. I genuinely like you. So be respectful of others, maybe, but date. You know?
It's true. As long
Yeah.
like anything that is like a healthy, conscious decision, as long as it's there as an option to like help you move forward, not necessarily like to only distract you, then it's like might as well do it, right?
Yeah. And there's no shame. You know, everyone's like, there's some people really pissed about my journey and everything that's happening. There's no shame in doing what you want to do, because at the end of the day, it only affects you.
That's very true.
At the end of the day, all of my videos, for the most part, physically will only affect me. So there's no shame. It's life. You know what I mean? Be mad at life.
You should start a YouTube channel over all this, honestly. Seriously.
Oh my gosh. This is my problem. I have commitment issues to projects.
Okay.
Not commitment issues with people, just projects. Like working out. But like that. Like journaling was hard the first 3 weeks. So if I really do start a YouTube, we got over issues.
Good stuff. Is there anything else you want to leave people with? Like, I mean, obviously I'm going to post all your links in the description or anything and everything like that. But I mean, like, this is kind of like an open floor. I have no formality to this. I say that all the time to people, but it's like, I really don't. Like, whatever you want to say to people at the end. If you had like a fruit stand that you were working on and it had nothing to do with this, I'd be like, yeah, plug your fruit stand. Let them know you're selling fruit.
If I can leave people with anything, there's no shame in showing your emotion.
It's a great piece of advice.
Keep moving forward. That's it. Period.
That was perfect, actually. I wish more people said that, for real. All right, everybody, please go follow Morgan. Whatever day you're seeing this, go check what day she is on of her single journey. For it's 365 days single, right? That's the TikTok username, right?
Yes. Well, my username is Mo Grace 27, but in all of my bios it says 365 days series.
So because when you search that, like just 365, sometimes depending on the algorithm you're on, it pops up like quick. So it's like TikTok's good with those keywords, you know what I mean? So your name is getting more recognizable with that phrase 365 days. So you got to commit to it.
Oh, I will.
Yeah. So guys, go search Morgan.
365 days single. That's a good way to find me, actually.
Go search Morgan and go check out her content. If you guys are going through anything, it's probably a good resource to go read through those comments. Seriously, see other people are going through it. And I think from there, what else do I say to people normally? Guys, check out the Patreon. I know I don't like say it all the time in my other videos, but there is a Patreon, and some of you guys, I really appreciate it. So if there's more of you, it'll help support, I don't know, the production quality of some of these videos that I put out. And I love all you guys. I appreciate y'all sticking around, especially for this part 2. Morgan, thank you so much for doing this, especially in 2 parts.
It was fun. I told you I loved it. So
good stuff. I'm glad I didn't put you on the spot too much and like, I don't know, ask you weird questions. So good stuff. All right, cool. Everybody, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, and I will hear from you guys next time.